The emergency klaxons had been silent for 3 years aboard Station Juno, humanity's furthest outpost in the Andromeda Reach. That silence shattered at 0400 hours when something massive breached the outer detection grid. Hyunwoo jolted awake in his cramped quarters, grease still under his fingernails from the previous day's work on the station's ancient cooling systems. At 28, he had spent the last 5 years as the station's sole mechanic, a job that paid poorly but asked few questions about his past. The flashing red lights painted his bare walls in crimson waves as he pulled on his maintenance jumpsuit. The comm system crackled to life. Commander Taeyang's voice cut through the alarm. "All personnel to stations. We have an unidentified vessel approaching at impossible speeds. It's not responding to hails." Hyunwoo grabbed his tool belt out of habit, though he doubted a wrench would help if this was a hostile encounter. He rushed down the narrow corridors, past sleeping quarters where other station crew members were emerging confused and afraid. The station housed barely 40 souls, scientists and support staff studying cosmic radiation patterns in this forgotten corner of space. The observation deck was chaos. Through the reinforced windows, something enormous emerged from the darkness between stars. It wasn't a ship in any conventional sense. The vessel seemed organic, its surface rippling with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed in distress. It was easily the size of 3 cargo haulers with a serpentine grace that defied its bulk. "What is that thing?" whispered Ji-won, the station xenobiologist, her dark eyes wide with a mixture of terror and fascination. Before anyone could answer, the vessel shuddered. Parts of its hull flickered, the light patterns becoming erratic. It was dying, anyone could see that. The approach trajectory wavered, and suddenly the thing was coming in too fast, too steep. "Brace for impact," Taeyang shouted, but the expected collision never came. At the last moment, the creature ship adjusted, slamming into the station's external docking cradle with enough force to shake the entire structure, but not breach it. Emergency seals engaged automatically. Hyunwoo's mind raced. Whatever that thing was, it had chosen not to destroy them. That meant intelligence. That meant intention. The commander was already barking orders. "Security team to the docking bay. Medical standby. Everyone else stay clear." But Hyunwoo was already moving. If something had just performed emergency docking maneuvers, it might need mechanical assistance. It was foolish, maybe suicidal, but his instincts pulled him toward the bay. He arrived before security, punching in his override code. The inner airlock door stood between him and whatever waited on the other side. Through the small window he could see movement, massive and shadow-draped. Then he heard it. Not through his ears, but somehow deeper, resonating in his chest and skull, a voice that was ancient and desperate, speaking in no language he knew yet somehow comprehensible. "Please. She dies. Help her, please." Hyunwoo's hand hovered over the airlock release. Every shred of common sense screamed at him to wait for security, for protocols, for someone else to make this decision. But that voice carried a weight of grief so profound it made his own losses seem small. He opened the door. The docking bay's lights struggled to illuminate what waited inside. 2 massive forms lay on the deck, their scales shimmering in shades of deep purple and silver. Dragons. There was no other word for them. Not the fantasy creatures from Earth legends, but something far more magnificent and terrible. They were easily 15 meters long, with wings folded against bodies that seemed to be both flesh and something more, something that bent light around the edges. The larger one, scales the color of a nebula, lifted its massive head. Eyes like collapsed stars focused on Hyunwoo. The voice came again, not from the creature's mouth but from everywhere at once. "My mate. Poison. Core failing. You build, you fix. I sense this, please." The smaller dragon, her scales a pale silver fading to gray, lay motionless. Her breathing came in shallow, labored gasps. Strange light pulsed irregularly beneath her scales like a failing reactor core. Hyunwoo's training kicked in before his fear could paralyze him. He approached slowly, hands visible, tool belt clinking. "I'm a mechanic, not a doctor. I fix machines, not living things." The larger dragon's head swung to follow him. "She is both. We are both. Long ago we were like you, small, fragile. We changed ourselves, became this. Machine and flesh together. Now her machine core fails. The poison spreads. I cannot fix. My knowing is for navigation, for travel between stars, not for healing." Hyunwoo stopped beside the dying dragon. Up close he could see it now. Beneath the scales there were seams, joints, interfaces. Parts of her body were clearly biological, but woven through everything was technology more advanced than anything humanity had ever created. She was a hybrid, a fusion of organic life and machinery so complete it was impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. What kind of poison? He asked, his mind already shifting into diagnostic mode. Quantum decay weapon. Hit our ship 3 cycles ago. I purged my systems. Hers did not respond. The decay spreads through her processing nodes. Soon it reaches her neural core. Then she is gone forever. Security burst through the door, weapons raised. Tae-yang was with them, but he held up a hand before anyone could fire. He had heard enough through the comm systems Hyunwoo forgot he was wearing. The commander approached carefully. I am Commander Tae-yang. This station is under my authority. Can you guarantee you mean us no harm? The dragon's eyes never left Hyunwoo. I am Raylan. She is my mate, Kess. We have traveled 10,000 light years seeking help. On all worlds we find fear, weapons, death. Only here on your small station did I sense one who might understand. Him. The massive head gestured toward Hyunwoo. I swear by the old worlds and the stars that bore us I mean no harm. I only wish to save her. Hyunwoo knelt beside Kess's head. Her eye opened slightly, the light in it dimming. He could see the fear there, the awareness of approaching death. He had seen that look before, in his sister's eyes during the colony plague, when all the advanced medicine in the galaxy couldn't save her. He made his decision. I'll need my full kit, every diagnostic tool we have, and complete access to the station's medical imaging systems. Commander, I'll need authorization to convert Bay 3 into a surgical theater. Tae-yang stared at him. You can't be serious. We don't know anything about their biology or technology. Hyunwoo met his commander's eyes. Look at her. She's dying. He came here because he had nowhere else to go. What would we want if our positions were reversed? The question hung in the air. Finally, Tae-yang nodded. Do it. But Raylan, if this is some kind of trick, if you harm anyone on this station, I will find a way to make you regret it. I understand, Raylan replied, his mental voice heavy with exhaustion. Thank you. We are in your debt. As the crew scrambled to prepare, Hyunwoo allowed himself one moment of doubt. He was a mechanic who fixed cooling systems and reactor seals. Now he was about to attempt surgery on an alien life form that was part organic, part machine, and completely beyond his experience. But when he looked at Raylan's desperate eyes and Kess's failing light, he knew he had no choice. Sometimes being human meant trying the impossible anyway. Bay 3 had never seen activity like this. Hyunwoo watched as Ji-won and her assistant Dong-hyun rolled in every scanning device the station possessed, while medic Soo-jin set up sterilization fields and monitoring equipment. Raylan had carefully carried Kess's weakening form to the center of the bay, laying her down with a gentleness that made Hyunwoo's chest tight. The scans began immediately. What they revealed made Hyunwoo's head spin. Kess's body was a masterwork of bioengineering that made humanity's crude cybernetic implants look like stone tools. Her circulatory system pumped both blood and some kind of liquid crystal that served as coolant and data transmission medium. Her bones were laced with quantum processors. Her brain was augmented with neural networks that extended throughout her entire body. But spreading through it all was the poison, a cascading failure that corrupted quantum states, turning ordered systems into chaos. The decay had started in her left wing joint and was now eating its way toward her primary neural core, located where her heart should be. It's like cancer and a computer virus had a baby, Ji-won muttered, studying the readings. Every cell it touches becomes unstable. They're breaking down at the quantum level. Hyunwoo traced the progression on the holographic display. He had maybe 12 hours before the decay reached her core. After that, even if they stopped the spread, too much damage would be done. She would be brain dead in any sense that mattered. Raylan, I need to understand something, Hyunwoo said, turning to the massive dragon who watched every movement with desperate intensity. You said you purged your systems, how? I isolated the infected nodes, severed the connections, and allowed the dead tissue to slough away. The pain was I cannot describe the pain, but I survived. Kess tried to do the same, but her neural architecture is different than mine. More interconnected. When she began the purge, her consciousness started to fragment. I stopped her before she destroyed herself, but by then the decay had spread too far. Hyunwoo paced, his mind racing through possibilities. Traditional surgery wouldn't work. The decay operated at a quantum level. Cutting it out would be like trying to remove smoke with a knife. But maybe there was another way. The poison disrupts quantum coherence, right? It forces particles into decoherent states, breaking down the quantum structures that make her hybrid biology work. Jiwon nodded slowly. That's what the readings suggest. But I don't see how that helps us. We can't exactly reach in and restore quantum coherence to individual particles. No, but maybe we don't have to, Hyunwoo said, his hands already pulling up schematics on his datapad. Raylan, when you travel between stars, how do you do it? I saw you arrive. No ship I know can move like that. We fold space. Our cores generate quantum fields that manipulate the fabric of reality around us. We become temporarily unbound from normal spacetime. So you already have quantum field generators built into your bodies. Incredibly precise ones. Hyunwoo's excitement grew. What if we could use Kess's own field generator to create a coherence wave? Force the poisoned areas back into stable quantum states? Sujin shook her head. Her systems are failing. How would we even power something like that? Hyunwoo looked at Raylan. Could you share power with her? Link your cores? The dragon was silent for a long moment. It is possible, but dangerous. If the decay spreads to me through the link, we both die. I am willing to take that risk, but I do not know if the power transfer alone would be enough. Her systems are too damaged to process the energy correctly. It would be like trying to charge a broken battery. You would just burn out what remains. Unless, Donghyun spoke up quietly. He was young, barely 22, but brilliant with energy systems. Unless we use the power to literally reboot her systems. A hard reset at the quantum level. Everyone stared at him. He flushed but continued. Look, her body is trying to fight the poison with corrupted systems. It's like running antivirus software on an infected computer. It won't work, because the infection is already inside the operating system. But if we shut everything down completely and then bring it back up clean, the coherent quantum states would be restored before the decay could reestablish itself. You're talking about killing her and bringing her back to life, Tae Yang said flatly. The commander had been observing from the doorway. Clinically, yes, Hyunwoo admitted. For maybe 30 seconds, she would be dead. No brain activity, no heartbeat, no quantum field, nothing. Then we flood her system with clean energy from Raylan, and her biology should reboot using its original, uncorrupted quantum templates. Should, Raylan repeated, his mental voice hollow. You are not certain? No, Hyunwoo said honestly. I'm not. This is all theoretical. I'm basing it on principles from quantum computing and what little I understand about your biology. There's a very real chance that when we shut her down, she won't come back up. Or that she'll come back wrong. Missing memories, personality, everything that makes her who she is. Raylan moved closer to Kess, his massive head lowering until it rested gently against hers. For a long minute, no one spoke. Then the dragon raised his head and looked directly at Hyunwoo. If we do nothing, she dies. This is certain. Your plan offers hope, even if small. I know Kess, she would take any chance over certain death. We will try. Hyunwoo felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Okay, we need to prepare. Raylan, I'll need you to explain exactly how your power cores interface. Jiwon, I need every detail about her neural architecture you can extract from those scans. Donghyun, start calculating the exact power curve we'll need for a safe reboot. Sujin, prepare every emergency protocol we have. If her organic systems don't restart with her technological ones, we'll need to manually resuscitate. The next 6 hours passed in a blur. They constructed an interface using parts cannibalized from the station's quantum communicator, the most advanced piece of technology they possessed. The device would link Raylan's core to Kess's, allowing power transfer while protecting Raylan from contamination with a one-way quantum gate. Hyunwoo's hands shook as he calibrated the final connections. He had built and repaired thousands of machines in his life, but never had so much depended on his work. One miscalculation, one loose connection, and Kess would die. Possibly Raylan, too. It's time, Jiwon said softly. The decay had spread further. They were out of time for refinements. Raylan positioned himself beside Kess, the interface cables running between them like silver veins. Hyunwoo attached the shutdown nodes to key points along Kess's body, guided by the scans. Each node would deliver a precisely timed electromagnetic pulse, forcing a complete system shutdown. Once we start, there's no going back, Hyunwoo warned. The shutdown sequence takes 10 seconds. She'll be clinically dead for 30 seconds while we purge the corrupted quantum states. Then we initiate the power transfer and hope her systems reboot. I understand, Raylan said. His eyes met Hyunwoo's, and in them the mechanic saw a depth of love and desperation that transcended species. Thank you for trying. Whatever happens, you gave us hope when the universe offered none. Hyunwoo positioned his finger over the activation switch. Around him, the crew stood ready at their stations. Tae-yang had his hand on Soo-jin's shoulder, offering silent support. Ji-won watched the quantum field readings with fierce intensity. Dong-hyun had both hands on the power transfer controls, ready to flood Kess's body with energy at precisely the right moment. On my mark, Hyunwoo said, his voice steadier than he felt. 3, 2, 1, mark. He pressed the switch. The nodes activated in sequence, visible pulses of energy racing across Kess's body. Her eyes, which had been dimly glowing, went dark. The light beneath her scales, already faint, extinguished completely. Her breathing stopped. The readings on every monitor flatlined. Shutdown complete, Ji-won announced, her voice tight. All quantum coherence collapsed. She's gone. The 30 seconds that followed were the longest of Hyunwoo's life. He counted each one, watching the chronometer tick down while Raylan held utterly still, his entire focus on his mate's lifeless form. 28, 29, 30. Now, Dong-hyun, the power transfer initiated. Pure energy flowed through the quantum interface, racing into Kess's inert body. The readings spiked, jumped, fluctuated wildly. Come on, Hyunwoo whispered. Come on, nothing. The energy was flowing, but her systems weren't responding. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15. It's not working, Soo-jin said, panic creeping into her voice. We're losing her. Raylan made a sound not through telepathy but physically, a keening wail of grief that rattled the bay's walls. 20 seconds of power transfer. Still nothing. Then, impossibly, a single light flickered deep in Kess's chest. Just one, barely visible, but it grew, spreading outward like dawn breaking across a dark world. More lights joined it, faster and faster, until her entire body blazed with bioluminescent brilliance. Her eyes snapped open. She gasped, a huge shuddering breath that filled her lungs. Her heart began to beat, visible as pulses of light racing through her crystalline blood vessels. The readings exploded across the monitors as system after system came back online. Neural activity restored, Ji-won shouted. Quantum coherence stable and holding. No signs of decay. It worked. It actually worked. Kess's head lifted, confused and disoriented. Her eyes found Raylan first, and something passed between them. Too deep for words, or recovery took 3 days. Kess remained in Bay 3 while her systems fully stabilized, and Raylan never left her side. The station's crew had gradually overcome their initial fear, though most still kept a respectful distance from beings who could theoretically tear through the hull with their claws. Hyunwoo found himself spending every spare moment in the bay, partially to monitor Kess's recovery, but increasingly because Raylan and Kess were simply fascinating to talk to. They had lived for over 3 centuries, had seen the rise and fall of civilizations, had explored regions of space humanity didn't even know existed. On the 3rd evening, Hyunwoo was running a routine diagnostic when Kess spoke suddenly. You are troubled. I can sense it. You have been watching my readings with concern. He should have known she would notice. There's an anomaly in your quantum field. Nothing dangerous, but it wasn't there before. The reboot process seems to have created a new resonance pattern in your core. Raylan's head swiveled toward him. What kind of resonance? That's the strange part. It matches human neural frequencies, specifically my neural frequencies. Hyunwoo pulled up the comparative scans. When we did the reboot, I was the one directing the process, physically connected to the system through the control interface. I think some kind of quantum entanglement occurred. A piece of my consciousness, or at least my neural pattern, got imprinted on your quantum structure. Kess and Raylan exchanged a long look. Another of those wordless communications. That would explain it, Kess finally said. Explain what? I understand your language now. Not just the words Raylan translates for me, but the underlying concepts, the cultural context, the emotional nuances. I can feel your presence at the edge of my awareness like an echo. It is not unpleasant, but it is unfamiliar. Hyunwoo felt his face flush. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to invade your mind or anything. If there's a way to reverse it, no, Kess said firmly. You saved my life at great personal risk. If I carry a piece of you with me, I consider it a gift, not an invasion. Besides, I find your species' perspective refreshing. You are so young, so impulsive, so gloriously reckless. She means that as a compliment. Raylan added with what might have been amusement, though I share her sentiment. Your people have been in space for barely 2 centuries, yet you rushed to help beings you had never encountered, using methods you invented on the spot. It is remarkable. Hyunwoo shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. Anyone would have done the same. No, Raylan said softly. They would not. We visited 17 worlds before coming here. Advanced civilizations with technology that makes your station look primitive. Every one of them turned us away. Some out of fear, some out of indifference. One tried to capture us for study. Only here, on this insignificant outpost with its failing equipment and skeleton crew, did we find beings willing to help. The weight of that statement hung in the air. Hyunwoo thought about the station, about the crew of misfits and refugees who had ended up in this forgotten corner of space. People like him, running from past they couldn't change, looking for a place where they could be useful. Why did you become this? He asked suddenly. You said you were like us once. Small, fragile. What would make someone choose to become something so different? Kes lowered her massive head until she was eye level with Hyunwoo. This close he could see the stars reflected in her eyes, miniature galaxies swirling in their depths. Fear, she said simply. 10,000 years ago our people were dying. Our sun was failing, and we lacked the technology to save it or to reach other worlds. We had perhaps a generation before extinction, so our greatest minds proposed something radical. If we could not change our world, we would change ourselves. We would merge with our machines, become beings capable of surviving in the void, of traveling the stars without ships, of drawing energy directly from cosmic radiation. The transformation was agonizing, Raylan continued. Many did not survive the process, but those who did became what you see now. We saved our species, but we lost something too. The ability to feel soft things, to touch without destroying, to be vulnerable. Do you regret it? Hyunwoo asked. Every day, Kes admitted. And not at all. We are alive. We have seen wonders that our ancestors could never have imagined. But sometimes I dream of what it would be like to feel rain on skin instead of scales, to hold something delicate without fear of crushing it. The longing in her mental voice made Hyunwoo's chest ache. He thought about what it must be like, to be so powerful yet so isolated. To have saved your entire species but lost the simple pleasures of being small and soft. The quantum entanglement between us, Kes said, changing the subject. It goes both ways. You carry a piece of me as well, though you may not have noticed yet. Hyunwoo blinked. What do you mean? Close your eyes. Reach out with your mind, the way you would to remember a distant dream. He felt foolish, but he did it. At first there was nothing. Then he felt it. A vast presence at the edge of his consciousness. Not intrusive, but there, waiting. He pushed toward it gently, and suddenly his awareness exploded outward. He could feel the quantum fields that permeated the station, see the flow of energy through circuits he had repaired 100 times. Beyond that, he sensed the cold void of space, the distant stars, the cosmic background radiation that filled the universe. For just a moment he understood what it was to be Kes, to perceive reality at scales both quantum and cosmic. Then he snapped back to himself, gasping. What was that? A gift, Kes said gently. Or perhaps an accident. The entanglement allows you to perceive what I perceive if you know how to listen. It will fade with time and distance, but while we remain close, you can access it. That's incredible, Ji-won breathed. She had been observing from across the bay and had witnessed Hyunwoo's reaction. Do you realize what this means? You have direct access to their way of experiencing the universe. The things we could learn. But Taeyang had arrived as well, and his expression was troubled. We need to talk, all of us. In the conference room. Now. The tone in his voice left no room for argument. 20 minutes later, the station's senior staff gathered around the worn table while Raylan and Kes observed via video feed from the bay, too large to fit in the cramped room. We've received communication from Earth Command, Taeyang began without preamble. They picked up our emergency transmissions from 3 days ago. They're sending a fleet, that's good, right? Sujin asked. Backup supplies, maybe some real xenobiologists? They're not sending scientists. They're sending warships, 3 heavy cruisers and a carrier group. Taeyang pulled up the orders on the central display. Official reason is to secure a potential first contact situation and ensure station safety. Unofficial reason, based on the conversations I've had with my contacts in command, is that certain factions see Raylan and Kes as potential threats or potential assets to be acquired. They want to capture us, Raylan stated flatly. Not all of them. But enough voices in command are arguing for it. They see two beings with faster-than-light capability, with technology centuries beyond ours, with military applications they're salivating over. Hyunwoo felt anger rising in his chest. They saved our lives just by not attacking when they arrived. Kes was dying and we helped her. Now our own people want to imprison them? It's complicated, Taeyang said, though his face showed he agreed with Hyunwoo's sentiment. Earth has been worried about hostile first contact for decades. Finding two advanced beings shows up on our doorstep. Even friendly ones triggers every paranoid protocol we have. How long before the fleet arrives? Jiwon asked. 5 days at maximum burn. Kes and Raylan were silent for a long moment. Then Kes spoke, her mental voice resigned. We will leave. We have no desire to cause trouble for those who helped us. Before your fleet arrives, we will be gone. Where will you go? Hyunwoo asked, the thought of their departure suddenly painful. We do not know, but we are experts at running. We have done it for 300 years ever since the incident that made our own people fear us. What incident? Donghyun asked. Raylan's presence seemed dim. That is a story for another time. What matters now is that we depart before your military arrives. But first there is something we must offer, a debt to repay. You don't owe us anything, Hyunwoo protested. We owe you everything, Kes countered. And we would offer something that no one has offered humanity before. Knowledge. In our 3 centuries of travel, we have accumulated vast stores of information. Technology, star charts, the locations of habitable worlds, the histories of fallen civilizations. We would share this with you as payment for the life you returned to me. The room erupted in excited chatter. The implications were staggering. Centuries of human exploration and research, handed over freely. It would catapult human civilization forward by generations. But Taeyang held up a hand for silence. That's an incredibly generous offer, but it puts us in a difficult position. If we accept and transmit that data to Earth, Command will want to know its source. They'll come even faster, more determined to find you. Then do not transmit it, Raylan said. Store it here on your station. Study it at your leisure. Share it gradually, as if discovered through your own research. The knowledge is useless to us now. We have learned that wisdom without community is merely data. The data transfer took 36 hours of continuous work. Raylan and Kes possessed no conventional storage devices. Their knowledge encoded directly into their quantum neural networks. Hyunwoo had to devise an entirely new interface, one that could translate organic quantum memory into something the station's computers could process. He turned to face her. She looked concerned, her dark eyes studying his face with clinical precision. Your neural patterns are changing. I've been monitoring the scans. The entanglement with Kes is growing stronger, not weaker. Every time you access her consciousness, the connection deepens. Is that dangerous? He asked, though part of him already knew the answer. I don't know. Maybe. Your brain is adapting to process information in ways human brains weren't designed for. You're literally rewiring your own neural architecture. She paused. Does it hurt? Hyunwoo considered the question. No, it's overwhelming sometimes, seeing things the way she sees them. But it doesn't hurt. It's actually kind of beautiful. That's what worries me. You're talking about permanent changes to your brain structure like it's a gift, not a risk. Maybe it is a gift, he said quietly. My whole life I've been good at fixing things, but not at connecting with people. I lost everyone I cared about in the colony plague because I was too focused on machines to notice my sister getting sick until it was too late. Maybe this is my chance to be something more than just a mechanic. Jiwon sat down beside him. You've always been more than just a mechanic. You saved Kes's life. You brought hope to two beings who had given up hope. That's not nothing. Before Hyunwoo could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Taeyang's voice crackled over the comm system. All personnel, this is not a drill. We have multiple ships dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. Earth fleet arriving 2 days ahead of schedule. Hyunwoo's blood ran cold. They weren't ready. The data transfer was only 80% complete, and Raylan had discovered a minor instability in one of Kes's wing actuators during a systems check. They needed at least another 12 hours. He sprinted to the observation deck, G1 close behind. Through the windows, he could see the distant flashes of ships decelerating from faster-than-light travel. 1, 3, 7. More than the 3 cruisers and carrier group that had been reported. This was a full battle fleet. Raylan and Kess emerged from Bay 3, moving with surprising grace through the corridors despite their size. They had learned to navigate the station's tight spaces over the past days, folding their wings and moving with careful deliberation. They brought more than expected, Raylan observed, his mental voice grim. This is not a diplomatic mission. This is an acquisition force. Taeyang was already at the communications console, Station Juno to approaching fleet. We acknowledge your arrival. Please state your intentions. The response came quickly, a crisp military voice devoid of warmth. This is Admiral Sung Ho aboard the ESS Indomitable. Station Juno. You are to maintain position and prepare for boarding. All personnel are to stand down from any and all interactions with the alien entities. This situation is now under military jurisdiction. They're not asking, Dong-hyun whispered. They're telling. Taeyang's jaw tightened. Admiral, the situation here is stable. The entities have been cooperative and peaceful. We request that any boarding action be delayed until we can provide a full briefing. Your request is noted and denied, Commander. Fleet will arrive at your position in 4 hours. Ensure the entities do not depart. Any attempt at flight will be interpreted as hostile action. Indomitable out. The channel closed. Silence filled the observation deck. They will try to capture us, Kess said. Study us. Dissect our technology. Perhaps dissect us. We won't let that happen, Hyun-woo said fiercely. You cannot stop them, Rylan replied. But there was gratitude in his tone. They have numbers and firepower. If we flee, they pursue and possibly destroy the station in retaliation. If we stay, we are caged. There is no good outcome. Hyun-woo's mind raced. There had to be a solution, some angle they hadn't considered. He closed his eyes and reached out through the entanglement to Kess, letting his consciousness expand into that vast quantum space where her thoughts dwelled. And there, in that strange fusion of human and dragon perception, he found it. What if you didn't leave? He said, opening his eyes. What if you hid? Where? Raylan asked. Our size makes concealment difficult, and their sensors will detect our quantum signatures from considerable distance. Not if your quantum signatures were masked by something larger, Hyun-woo said, his words coming faster as the plan crystallized. The station has a quantum reactor core. It generates a massive quantum field for our FTL communications array. If you were inside that field right next to the core, your signatures would be lost in the noise. Ji-won caught on immediately. The reactor maintenance tunnel. It's barely large enough, but they might fit if they compress their wings. It would be unbearably cramped, Sujin pointed out. And dangerous. That much quantum radiation exposure, even for them. How long could you endure it? Hyun-woo asked Raylan and Kess directly. They consulted silently. Days, perhaps, Kess finally answered. Our bodies are designed to process quantum radiation, but the intensity near your core would be challenging. Still, it is better than the alternative. It could work, Taeyang said slowly. The Admiral clearly expects to find them here, visible and accessible. If they're hidden and we claim they fled before the fleet arrived, slipped out during the brief window after we received their ETA, they'll have no proof otherwise. They'll tear the station apart looking, Dong-hyun warned. Let them look, Taeyang replied, his expression hardening. They'll find a crew that cooperated fully, that tried to prevent the entity's escape but failed. What can they do, court-martial us for incompetence? Actually, yes, Ji-won muttered, but she was smiling. But I'm in. These two saved themselves by trusting us. We owe them the same trust. One by one, the crew voiced their agreement. Even the security team, hardened veterans who had initially wanted to blow Raylan and Kess out of the airlock, nodded their support. Then we move now, Hyun-woo said, before the fleet gets close enough for detailed scans. Raylan, Kess, we need to get you into that maintenance tunnel immediately. The next 2 hours were frantic. Hyun-woo and his team had to reconfigure the reactor's magnetic containment to create a small safe zone where the dragons could rest without being cooked by radiation. Raylan and Kess compressed themselves into shapes that seemed physically impossible, folding their massive bodies through access hatches that were never meant to accommodate anything larger than a human. The tunnel was a tight fit even then. The two dragons lay intertwined, their scales pressed against cold metal walls, barely able to move. The quantum radiation washed over them in waves that made their bioluminescent patterns flare erratically. This is deeply unpleasant, Raylan admitted, his mental voice strained. I've experienced worse, Kess added, though she didn't elaborate. We will endure. I'm sorry, Hyunwoo said, guilt twisting his stomach. This is the best we could come up with on short notice. You are protecting us at great personal risk, Kess replied. Your species continues to surprise me. So much courage in such small frames. Hyunwoo squeezed through the narrow space to where Kess's head rested, her eyes dim in the reactor's glow. On impulse, he reached out and placed his hand on her scales. They were warm, vibrating slightly with barely contained energy. Through the entanglement, he felt her fear and discomfort, but also her trust. She believed they would succeed. She believed in him. We'll get you out of here as soon as it's safe, he promised. No matter what happens, we'll find a way. I know you will, she said softly. Go now. The fleet approaches. Hyunwoo retreated from the tunnel, sealing the access hatch behind him. He and his team scrambled to erase any evidence of the dragon's presence, cleaning Bay 3 until it looked like nothing larger than a human had ever been there, scrubbing environmental systems of exotic particles, even manipulating the station's logs to create a plausible narrative of escape. By the time the fleet arrived, Station Juno appeared to be nothing more than a lonely outpost with a confused crew and an empty docking bay. The boarding party arrived with weapons drawn and scanners sweeping. Admiral Sung-ho was a severe woman in her 50s, with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She studied Taiyang with barely concealed suspicion. Where are they? She demanded without preamble. Gone. Taiyang replied calmly. They departed approximately 90 minutes after we received your original ETA. We tried to convince them to stay, but they were adamant. Something about your transmission tone made them nervous. You let them escape, the Admiral said flatly. 2 potentially hostile alien entities and you just let them fly away. We had no legal authority to detain them, Taiyang countered. And no practical means of doing so. In case you haven't noticed, we're a research station, not a military installation. We have no weapons, no shields, nothing that could have stopped them if they chose to leave. The Admiral's eyes narrowed, but she couldn't argue with the logic. She turned to her science officer. Scan the station. Full spectrum. I want confirmation. For the next 6 hours, the military team swept every centimeter of Station Juno. They found nothing. The reactor's quantum field did exactly what Hyunwoo had predicted, masking Rail. Bay 3 became a medical ward once again. Raylan and Kess lay side by side, their bodies trembling with the after-effects of quantum radiation poisoning. Unlike the poison that had nearly killed Kess before, this damage was more insidious. A slow degradation of their hybrid systems caused by prolonged exposure to energy levels that exceeded even their enhanced tolerances. Sujin worked frantically, adapting every treatment protocol she knew, but human medicine was inadequate for beings whose biology operated on principles humanity barely understood. Ji-won ran constant scans, tracking the cascading failures as they spread through the dragon's systems. Their self-repair mechanisms are trying to compensate, she reported, exhaustion making her voice ragged. But they're being overwhelmed. It's like their bodies are stuck in a loop, fixing damage only to have it reoccur immediately. Hyunwoo barely heard her. He was connected to Kess through the quantum entanglement, experiencing her pain firsthand. It felt like being burned from the inside out, every cell vibrating at wrong frequencies, quantum coherence slipping away moment by moment. Through the pain, Kess's thoughts reached him. Not your fault. We chose this. Better to die free than live caged. You're not going to die, Hyunwoo said fiercely, both aloud and through their connection. I didn't save you the first time just to lose you now. Some things cannot be fixed, Raylan added weakly. His condition was slightly better than Kess's, but only marginally. We knew the risks. No, Hyunwoo said, an idea forming in his mind. It was desperate, maybe insane, but desperation had worked before. The first time we used your own quantum field generator to reboot Kess's systems. What if we did something similar now? Used an external quantum field to stabilize your internal ones, give your self-repair mechanisms time to catch up? With what? Ji-won asked. Our reactor is what damaged them in the first place. Using it again would just make things worse. Not the reactor, Hyunwoo said, his mind racing through possibilities. What if we used each other? Raylan and Kess. They're quantum entangled at a fundamental level after centuries together. If we could synchronize their fields, Have them stabilize each other mutually. It might create a resonance effect strong enough to overcome the damage. Dong-hyun looked up from his station. That's actually brilliant. It's like using two out-of-phase waves to cancel each other out. If we can get their quantum signatures to align perfectly, the instabilities should neutralize. But their fields are chaotic right now, Soo-jin pointed out. How do we synchronize chaos? Hyunwoo looked at Kes, feeling the connection between them pulse with shared determination. Through me. I'm entangled with Kes. If I can act as a bridge, a stabilizing reference point, maybe I can help bring them into alignment. That would mean channeling quantum energy through your human nervous system, Ji-won said, her voice rising in alarm. You're not built for that. It could kill you or burn out your brain. It might work, though, Tae-yang said quietly. He had been observing from the doorway. The entanglement has already changed him, adapted his neural structure. He's not entirely human anymore, at least not in how his brain processes quantum information. Hyunwoo knew the commander was right. Over the past days, he had felt the changes accelerating. His perceptions had expanded, his thoughts occasionally operating on multiple levels simultaneously. He could sense quantum fluctuations in the station's systems, predict equipment failures before they happened. The line between his consciousness and Kes's had blurred. I have to try, he said simply. Raylan lifted his head with obvious effort. No, we will not allow you to sacrifice yourself for us. You have done enough. This isn't a sacrifice, Hyunwoo replied. It's a debt. You offered to share your knowledge, your friendship, to be there when humanity needs you. Let me be there for you now. Kes's mental voice was soft, filled with an emotion that transcended species. You are a strange creature, Hyunwoo, so determined to save everyone but yourself. Very well, we accept your help. But if the burden becomes too great, you must let go. Promise me. I promise, he lied. They spent the next hour preparing. Hyunwoo would position himself between Raylan and Kes, physically connected to both through modified neural interface cables normally used for computer diagnostics. The interfaces would allow quantum energy to flow through him, using his nervous system as a living circuit to bridge the two dragons' fields. As his team attached the final connections, Hyunwoo felt fear wash over him. Not fear of death exactly, but fear of losing himself. If this worked, if he survived channeling the quantum essence of two ancient beings through his fragile human brain, would he still be Hyunwoo afterward? Or would he become something else entirely? Ready when you are, Dong-hyun said, his hands hovering over the activation controls. Hyunwoo took a deep breath, then nodded. Do it. The quantum fields activated, and suddenly Hyunwoo existed in 3 places simultaneously. He was himself standing in Bay 3. He was Kes, feeling her ancient consciousness and the weight of 3 centuries of memory. He was Raylan, experiencing his fierce protective love for his mate and his deep curiosity about the universe. The sensation would have driven him mad if he hadn't already been changed by his connection to Kes. As it was, he barely maintained coherence. His sense of self stretched across 3 distinct perspectives. Through it all, he could feel the chaos in their quantum fields, the destructive patterns left by the radiation. He focused his will, drawing on every bit of concentration he possessed, and began to impose order. He used his human mind as an anchor point, a stable reference in the quantum storm, and slowly, painfully, he began to bring Raylan and Kes's fields into alignment. Minutes passed like hours. Sweat poured down Hyunwoo's face. His body trembled with the effort of channeling energies that no human was meant to touch. Around him, his team watched helplessly as the readings fluctuated wildly. His neural activity is off the charts, Ji-won said, her voice tight with worry. He's operating at levels that should be impossible. The synchronization is working, though, Dong-hyun reported. Look at the dragon's quantum signatures. They're starting to stabilize. It was true. As Hyunwoo held the connection, Raylan and Kes's chaotic fields began to resonate in harmony. The destructive interference patterns canceled out, and their natural self-repair mechanisms finally gained the upper hand. Slowly but surely the damage began to reverse, but the cost was enormous. Hyunwoo felt pieces of himself fragmenting under the strain. Memories became confused, mixing his experiences with those of the dragons. He remembered flying between stars, remembered being small and soft before the transformation, remembered the loneliness of wandering the galaxy for centuries. Hyunwoo, Your vitals are crashing, Sujin shouted. You need to disconnect now, but he couldn't, not yet. The process was almost complete, but if he stopped too soon, the dragon's fields would destabilize again. He had to hold on just a little longer. Through the pain and confusion, he heard Kess's voice in his mind, gentle and insistent. Let go, we are stable enough. You have done what you promised. Now save yourself. Not yet, he managed to think back. Almost there. Stubborn human, Raylan's voice joined in. Your species is maddening. So much determination despite such fragile forms. Release the connection. That is a command from your kin friend. Finally, Hyunwoo felt the synchronization lock into place. Raylan and Kess's quantum fields had aligned perfectly, their combined resonance strong enough to maintain stability without his intervention. The self-repair mechanisms were fully engaged, healing the radiation damage at an accelerating rate. He let go. The disconnection felt like falling. For a moment, Hyunwoo was weightless, his consciousness scattered across space and time. Then gravity reasserted itself and he collapsed to the deck, his body convulsing. Sujin was at his side immediately, scanner in hand. He's seizing. Get me the neural stabilizers. The next hours passed in a blur of medical intervention and fevered dreams. Hyunwoo drifted in and out of consciousness, unable to separate his thoughts from those bleeding through from Kess. He experienced fragments of her past, moments from before the transformation when she had been small and vulnerable, walking on two legs under a sun that would soon die. When he finally woke, truly woke, he found himself in the medical bay. His head throbbed with a migraine that felt like his skull was too small for his brain. Every sound was too loud, every light too bright. His perceptions felt scrambled, seeing the world simultaneously through human eyes and quantum senses. Welcome back, Ji-won said softly. She was sitting beside his bed, data pad in hand. You've been out for 18 hours, Raylan and Kess? He croaked, his throat raw, stable and recovering. The synchronization worked. Their self-repair systems are functioning normally now, clearing out the radiation damage. They'll be back to full health in a few days. Relief flooded through him, followed immediately by concern. What about me? I can still feel them, see things I shouldn't be able to see. Ji-won's expression was complicated, a mix of fascination and worry. The entanglement has grown significantly stronger. The process of channeling their quantum fields through your nervous system created new connections, deeper ones. Your brain has essentially been rewired at the quantum level. You're now permanently linked to them in ways I can't fully explain. The next 3 days were among the strangest of Hyunwoo's life. His new quantum-enhanced perceptions made even routine tasks feel alien. He could sense the flow of electricity through the station's circuits, feel the quantum fluctuations in the life support systems, perceive patterns in the cosmic background radiation that filtered through the hull. Ji-won ran daily tests, documenting the changes with scientific fascination tinged with concern. Your brain is generating its own quantum field now, she explained during one session. Weak compared to the dragons, but measurable. It's as if you're developing the first stages of what they have. Given enough time, you might be able to do some of the things they can do. Like what? Fly through space? Hyunwoo asked with attempted humor. Maybe not that extreme, but certainly enhanced perception. Possibly even limited telepathy with other quantum-capable beings. You're becoming a bridge between human and whatever they are. The word bridge resonated with Hyunwoo. That was what he had always been in a sense. A bridge between broken things and functionality, between people who needed help and solutions to their problems. Maybe this was just the next evolution of that purpose. His crew reacted to his impending decision in different ways. Dong-hyun was excited, seeing it as the ultimate adventure. Sujin was worried, afraid he was making a choice based on trauma rather than genuine desire. Taeyang remained professionally neutral, though Hyunwoo caught him watching with an expression that might have been envy. It was Ji-won who finally asked the question everyone was thinking. Why are you really considering this? Is it because you think you don't fit here anymore, or because you genuinely want to go? They were alone in the observation deck, watching the stars. Hyunwoo had spent a lot of time here lately, feeling the pull of all that empty space in a way he never had before. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe both. I've spent my whole adult life running from my past, hiding in places where no one asks questions. But Raylan and Kess, they're not running from anything anymore. They're living deliberately, making choices based on who they want to be rather than who they're afraid of becoming. And you want that too, Ji-won said. It wasn't a question. I think I do. But I'm also terrified. What if I'm making a mistake? What if I get out there and realize I threw away everything that matters for a fantasy? Then you come back. The universe is large, but it's not impossible to navigate. You have the connection to them now. They could bring you home if you asked, could they? Hyunwoo wondered aloud. Or would I be a burden? Someone they feel obligated to care for out of misplaced gratitude? You're overthinking this, Ji-won said with a slight smile. They invited you because they want you to come, not because they feel obligated. I've seen how they look at you through those quantum whatever perceptions they have. You're not a burden to them. You're family. The word hit Hyunwoo harder than expected, family. He hadn't had that since the plague took his sister. The crew of Station Juno had come close, but there had always been a wall between them, built from his own guilt and self-imposed isolation. With Raylan and Kes, that wall didn't exist. The quantum entanglement made deception impossible. They knew his fears, his failures, his deepest regrets, and they accepted him anyway. I think I've made my decision, he said quietly. Ji-won nodded. I know, I think we all knew you would go. You've always been the type to choose the harder path if it meant growth instead of safety. Will you tell the others? You should tell them yourself. They deserve that much. That evening, Hyunwoo called a meeting of the core crew. They gathered in the small conference room, the same place where they had first decided to help the dragons. The symmetry wasn't lost on anyone. I'm leaving, Hyunwoo said without preamble. When Raylan and Kes depart, I'm going with them. Silence greeted his announcement. Then Dong-hyun broke into a wide grin. I knew it. I told you all he'd go. You're going to see things no human has ever seen. You're going to be alone out there, Sujin countered. Away from everything human. Away from us, not alone, Hyunwoo replied. And not entirely away. The quantum entanglement works both ways, apparently. Kes says that with practice I might be able to communicate across vast distances, send messages back to you. I could be humanity's first deep space explorer, sending back information about regions we've never reached. Taeyang leaned back in his chair, studying Hyunwoo with those calculating commander's eyes. Earth Command won't see it that way. They'll see it as desertion, possibly even collusion with potential enemies. Let them, Hyunwoo said. I stopped caring what Command thinks the moment they sent a battle fleet to capture two beings whose only crime was seeking medical help. Besides, I'm technically a civilian contractor. They can't court-martial me for quitting. They can make your life difficult if you ever come back, Taeyang warned. But there was no real censure in his voice. Still, I understand the choice. If I were 20 years younger and didn't have responsibilities here, I might make the same one. Ji-won pulled out a data drive and slid it across the table. Everything I've learned about your neural changes, full medical scans, baseline readings. Take it with you. If something goes wrong, it might help them understand how to fix you. And this, Dong-hyun added, producing a small device. Emergency quantum beacon. If you ever need help, activate it. We'll hear it and come running. With what fleet? Hyunwoo asked, amused despite the emotion welling in his chest. We'll steal one if we have to. Dong-hyun replied with complete seriousness. Sujin was quiet for a moment, then stood and wrapped Hyunwoo in a fierce hug. You better come back someday. Even if it's just to visit, don't become so alien that you forget you're human too. I won't, Hyunwoo promised, returning the embrace. Being human is the best part of me. I'm not looking to lose that. I'm looking to grow beyond it while keeping it. The crew spent the rest of the evening together, sharing stories and memories. They talked about the first time Hyunwoo had arrived at the station, how he had been quiet and withdrawn, fixing things with methodical precision but rarely engaging with people. They laughed about the time he had accidentally vented the entire waste processing system into Taeyang's quarters. They remembered the good times and the hard times, the bonds formed in isolation. As midnight approached, Hyunwoo found himself back in Bay 3 with Raylan and Kes. The dragons were making final preparations for departure, running system checks and plotting course trajectories that would take them far from human space. Are you certain about this decision? Raylan asked, his mental voice gentle. Once we leave, it may be long before you see this place again. I'm certain, Hyunwoo replied. I've spent too long hiding from life. It's time I started living it deliberately. Kes shifted, bringing her massive head down to eye level with him. Then there is something you must know before we depart. The entanglement between us will strengthen the longer we are together. Eventually, you may develop abilities similar to ours. The power to perceive quantum fields directly, to manipulate them in small ways, perhaps even to survive in the void for brief periods. You mean I could become like you? The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Not entirely. You lack our centuries of transformation, our biological restructuring, but you could become something new. The first of a hybrid form, part human, part what we are. It would be unprecedented. And dangerous, Raylan added. The transformation could fail. Your human biology might reject the quantum enhancements. You could die or become trapped between states neither fully human nor fully transcendent. Hyun-woo considered this. Every worthwhile choice came with risk. I understand. I'm still choosing to go. Then we leave at dawn, Kes said. The military observers will be rotating shifts. We will have a brief window to depart undetected. The final hours passed too quickly. Hyun-woo packed his few belongings, said his goodbyes to crew members he hadn't seen at the meeting. The night shift workers, the maintenance staff, even the cook who had always slipped him extra rations. Each farewell was a small knife to the heart. As the station's chronometer ticked toward dawn, Hyun-woo stood in his quarters one last time. The space was sparse, impersonal, exactly as he had kept it for 5 years. A place to exist, not to live. He was leaving behind very little of material value, but he was leaving behind people who cared about him. That was something he hadn't had in a long time. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Ji-won stood in the doorway, holding a small package. One more thing, she said, handing it to him. From all of us. He unwrapped it to find a photo, printed on actual paper, a luxury in space. It showed the entire crew of Station Juno gathered in the observation deck, smiling at the camera. In the background, barely visible through the window, were 2 massive draconic shapes. So you don't forget us, Ji-won said softly, and so you remember that humanity isn't just Earth Command and battle fleets. It's also this. People doing their best in impossible situations. Hyun-woo's vision blurred. Thank you. For everything. Go see the universe, she replied. Then come back and tell us about it. Dawn arrived with the soft chime of the station's wake cycle. Hyun-woo made his way to Bay 3, where Raylan and Kes waited. The military observers were indeed rotating shifts, their attention focused on external sensors rather than internal movements. It is time, Raylan said. Are you prepared? Hyun-woo. 6 months passed in the space between stars. Time moved differently when traveling at speeds that bent reality itself. Hyun-woo learned to navigate the strange timelessness of faster-than-light travel, where subjective experience and objective reality diverged in ways that made his quantum-enhanced brain ache. Raylan and Kes proved to be patient teachers. They showed him how to perceive quantum fields directly, to sense the fabric of space-time and the energies that flowed through it. The universe, Hyun-woo discovered, was far more alive than humanity had ever imagined. Everything vibrated with quantum information, from the smallest particles to the largest structures. They visited places that defied description. Nebulae where matter was still condensing into the first generation of stars. Derelict megastructures built by civilizations that had risen and fallen millennia before humanity learned to make fire. Gardens of crystalline life that grew in the vacuum, feeding on stellar radiation. Through it all, Hyun-woo changed. His body adapted to the rigors of space travel, enhanced by the constant exposure to Raylan and Kes's quantum fields. He learned to survive brief periods in vacuum, his lungs restructuring to extract oxygen from trace molecules. His eyes developed the ability to perceive beyond the human visible spectrum. His thoughts began to operate on multiple levels simultaneously, processing information in ways that would have been impossible before. But he clung to his humanity like an anchor. Each night, as the dragons rested in the heart of some nebula or the orbit of a dying star, Hyun-woo would take out the photo from Station Juno and study the faces of his friends. He would practice speaking aloud, maintaining his connection to human language and human thought patterns. He refused to let himself drift too far into the alien mindset that came so easily now. It was during one of these quiet moments that Kes approached him. They were drifting in the corona of a blue giant, the star's radiation washing over them in waves that made Hyun-woo's skin tingle pleasantly. You are holding back, she observed. I can feel it through our connection. You resist the full transformation. Keep yourself tethered to what you were. I don't want to lose who I am. Hyun-woo replied honestly. I've seen what I could become. Sometimes when I'm deep in quantum perception, I catch glimpses of it. A being of pure energy and thought unchained from flesh. It's beautiful and terrifying, and I'm afraid if I embrace it fully, Hyunwoo the mechanic, the human, will cease to exist. Perhaps, Kes said thoughtfully, or perhaps he will simply evolve. Raylan and I were once individuals named with different sounds. Beings who feared and loved and dreamed in ways our current forms can barely remember. We became what we are and we lost much, but we also gained much. The question is not whether you will change. You are already changing. The question is whether you will guide that change or resist it. How did you decide? Hyunwoo asked. When you were transforming, how did you choose what to keep and what to let go? Kes was quiet for a long moment, her massive form silhouetted against the star's brilliance. We kept what mattered most. Our capacity for connection. Our ability to care about things beyond ourselves. The core of who we were, even as the form changed. Everything else we released. And you think I should do the same? I think you should stop being afraid. Fear makes you rigid when you need to be fluid. Trust yourself, Hyunwoo. Trust that whoever you become will still be you. Just more. Over the following weeks, Hyunwoo began to let go. He stopped fighting the changes and started embracing them. His transformations accelerated. He learned to generate his own quantum field, weak but stable. He developed limited telepathic abilities, able to sense the thoughts of quantum-capable beings. He even managed once to fold space around himself in a miniature version of what the dragons did, moving several meters in an instant. But the most profound change was internal. His consciousness expanded, able to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously without confusion. He could think like a human and perceive like a dragon, switching between modes as easily as changing languages. He was becoming the bridge Kes had predicted, a being that could exist in both worlds. It was in this state, 6 months after leaving Station Juno, that they encountered the distress signal. Raylan detected it first, a quantum pulse repeating in a pattern that indicated intelligence and desperation. They followed it to a small solar system dominated by a dying red dwarf. There, in decaying orbit around a lifeless planet, they found a human ship. It was a deep space explorer, one of Earth's long-range survey vessels. The hull was breached in multiple places, life support failing, reactor output fluctuating dangerously. Through his enhanced senses, Hyunwoo could feel the terror of the crew inside, 7 humans facing slow death in the void. "We have to help them," he said immediately. "Agreed," Raylan replied. "But your people may not welcome our aid. They may fear us, attack us." "Then I'll go in alone first," Hyunwoo decided. "I'm still human enough that they'll listen. Once I explain, they'll accept help." Kes moved closer to the damaged ship, matching its orbit with careful precision. Hyunwoo gathered his courage and stepped off her back into the void. For a moment, panic seized him. He was in space, unprotected, moving through vacuum that should kill him in seconds. But his body responded as it had been trained to do. His skin sealed itself, becoming temporarily impermeable. His lungs drew oxygen from quantum fluctuations in the void. His personal field kept pressure stable around his body. He was flying, actually flying through space under his own power. The sensation was indescribable. For the first time, Hyunwoo understood what Raylan and Kes experienced constantly, the freedom of the void, the beauty of moving through space as naturally as breathing. He approached the ship's emergency airlock and activated the manual override. The inner door cycled open and he pulled himself inside. As soon as the pressure equalized, he released his personal field and let himself breathe normally again. The effort had exhausted him, but he had done it. The interior of the ship was a disaster. Exposed wiring sparked in corridors. Emergency lights flickered. The air smelled of ozone and fear. Hyunwoo made his way toward the bridge where he could sense the crew had gathered. They saw him coming and raised weapons, primitive projectile guns that would do little against his enhanced body, but could still hurt. He raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "I'm human," he called out. "My name is Hyunwoo. I'm here to help." "You came out of the void," one of them said, a woman with captain's insignia on her torn uniform. Her name tag read Haewon. "Without a suit. That's not possible." "It's complicated," Hyunwoo admitted. "But I promise I'm here to help. There are 2 others with me, beings who can repair your ship and get you to safety. But I need you to trust me." "Others? What others?" Another crew member, young and terrified, tightened his grip on his weapon. "They're called Raylan and Kes. They're the reason I can survive in space now. They're advanced, powerful, but peaceful. They want to help. HFY studied him with calculating eyes. She was making the same assessment Taeyang had made 6 months ago, weighing trust against desperation. Finally, she lowered her weapon. We're dead in 3 hours if something doesn't change. I'll take help from anyone, even aliens who travel with humans who can walk in space. Over the next hour, Hyunwoo coordinated the rescue. Raylan used his precise control over quantum fields to stabilize the ship's failing reactor. Kes carefully sealed the hull breaches with applications of stellar matter she had collected, fusing it into place with controlled bursts of quantum energy. Hyunwoo, drawing on his years as a mechanic and his new quantum perceptions, guided them through the repairs with precision. The crew watched in awe and terror as 2 massive draconic beings worked impossible miracles on their dying ship. By the time Raylan and Kes finished, the vessel was not just functional but improved, its systems running more efficiently than they had when new. How can we repay this? HFY asked as her ship's systems came fully online. You can't, Hyunwoo replied. Just do the same for someone else if you get the chance. Help when you can. That's the human way. You keep saying human like you're not one of us anymore, she observed. Hyunwoo smiled sadly. I'm still human, just not only human. It's hard to explain. Before they parted, HFY pulled Hyunwoo aside. Earth Command is looking for you. The whole fleet is talking about the mechanic who disappeared with the dragons. Some call you a traitor. Others call you a pioneer. What should I tell them if they ask? Tell them I'm exactly where I choose to be. Tell them humanity doesn't have to fear what's different. Tell them that out here, in the dark between stars, the thing that matters most is whether you're willing to help when help is needed. Everything else is just details. HFY nodded slowly. I'll tell them. And Hyunwoo, thank you for not forgetting how to be human, even while becoming something more. As her ship prepared to jump back toward human space, Hyunwoo returned to Raylan and Kes. They were waiting patiently, their massive forms serene against the backdrop of stars. That felt good, Hyunwoo said. Fixing things. Helping people. I was worried I'd lost that when I changed. You will never lose it, Kes replied. It is the core of who you are. The human who fixes broken things. Now you simply have more tools and can fix more things.